Imagine being a person from a world that's completely foreign to you, trying to decode a culture that sees your very existence as a curiosity. That's the kind of tension that Jane Harrison's play Bennelong in London grapples with, and honestly, it's one of the most fascinating stories I've come across in years. Let me tell you why this isn't just another history play. It's a mirror held up to our modern world, asking uncomfortable questions about identity, colonialism, and what it means to be other in a society that's never truly accepted you. Bennelong, this Wangal man who became the first Aboriginal person to sing on English soil, is a figure who's been painted in so many conflicting colors. Some call him a traitor, others a hero. But here's the thing, he wasn't a simple man. He was a diplomat, a survivor, and someone who saw the cracks in the colonial system before most of us even realized the system existed. Harrison's play doesn't just tell his story, it forces you to confront the fact that Bennelong's choices were never black and white. He drank, he negotiated, he even traveled to London as a guest of the British. And yet, when he returned, he rejected the very colony that had tried to civilize him. What does that say about the people who built that colony? That they were so desperate to control him, they couldn't even see him as a human being. Now, here's where it gets wild. Harrison's play isn't set in 1793. It's set in the present day, with an actor named Sebastian trying to audition for a role as Bennelong. But here's the twist, Bennelong's spirit literally shows up to help him. This isn't just a gimmick, it's a brilliant narrative choice. By making the audience experience Bennelong's story through the lens of a modern actor, Harrison avoids the trap of turning this into a dusty history lesson. Instead, it becomes a conversation between past and present, asking, how do we honor the legacy of people like Bennelong without reducing them to symbols? How do we tell their stories without letting the colonizers' version of history dominate? And let's talk about the challenge of writing this. Harrison admits she's not a historian. She's a playwright, and she's had to navigate the minefield of colonial records that were written almost entirely from the perspective of white men. That's a problem, right? Because when you're trying to reconstruct a life based on someone else's biased accounts, you're always one step removed from the truth. But Harrison didn't just rely on books. She lived in Rome for a month, feeling the disorientation of being in a foreign place without language. She used that experience to imagine what Bennelong might have felt when he was thrust into London. That's the kind of creative empathy that makes this play resonate. It's not just about the past, it's about the universal experience of being an outsider. Then there's the question of Bennelong's morality. Was he opportunistic? Absolutely. But that doesn't make him a villain. In fact, it makes him more human. Harrison's play doesn't shy away from that complexity. She shows Bennelong as someone who was trying to survive in a world that wanted to erase him. He learned English quickly, he made alliances, he even dined with government officials. But when he returned home, he chose to live among his people, rejecting the very system that had tried to civilize him. That's not just defiance, it's a radical act of self-determination. And in a time when indigenous voices are still fighting for recognition, that message feels incredibly urgent. What makes this really interesting to me is how Harrison uses the actor Sebastian as a vehicle for this exploration. Sebastian is grappling with his own morals, his own identity, and his own relationship to Bennelong's legacy. It's like a meta-commentary on the act of storytelling itself. Because when you try to tell someone else's story, you're always asking, am I doing justice to their experience? Am I letting their voice speak, or am I projecting my own biases onto them? Harrison's play doesn't give easy answers, it just forces you to sit with the discomfort of that question. And let's not forget the cultural significance of this work. Bennelong's story has been told before, like in Bangarra Dance Theatre's Bennelong or I Am Eora. But Harrison's version is different because it's not just about the man, it's about the ongoing struggle of Indigenous Australians to reclaim their narratives. When Googoorewon Knox, who plays Bennelong in the play, talks about how the real Bennelong wasn't a fool, he's pointing out something profound: these people weren't passive victims. They were strategists, survivors, and visionaries. And that's a story we need to hear more of. So, what does all this mean for us today? It means that history isn't just about what happened, it's about how we choose to remember it. Bennelong in London is a reminder that the past is never really behind us. It's in the way we walk through cities named after people who try to erase others. It's in the way we still debate whether indigenous cultures are authentic or modern. And it's in the way we keep asking, who gets to tell our stories? If you take a step back and think about it, this play isn't just about Bennelong. It's about all of us trying to find our place in a world that's still learning how to listen.